Alright, I thought I'd take this opportunity to give a little set walkthrough. We just wrapped for the day, sun is setting, so we're done. But this is a good chance to kind of see what we did. So over here we've got our two cameras, both GH4s, filming 4K, doing the whole deal. And today we were filming interviews, so there's kind of like longer format material. Each interview was about an hour, and we did 4 of them. So a lot of extra cards on hand, just so we have enough card space. We've got a card case here, and our kind of mess of batteries and stuff on charge. But got an 85 here on the kind of camera A, the close-up, and I'm using the Sigma 18-35 at 35 on the B cam, so a little bit more of a wide medium shot for cam B. And the way I rig my A cam is kind of with this Tascam mounted here. This is just a kind of a rail kit, and I got the Tascam mounted under here so I can run it right up to the camera as an input. I always like to record in 2 places so that if a card goes bad or something here, I still have audio somewhere else. And that's really important just in case something does go wrong. You always want to make sure you have a backup, just like we got 2 cameras. Ideally, everything works, but you know, if we lost camera B, you know, in the 0.001% chance that that could happen, we at least have camera A or vice versa. And we're running XLR to boom mic over here. We're inside, so this is an Audix, I think it's the SCX1. Really great mic, hypercardioid, and works really, really well. Other than that, it's a pretty typical setup. Just sticks, you know, kind of locked down for the whole deal. No movement, no slider or anything like that. That would be distracting. So it should be pretty easy to edit the footage because, as you may have noticed, the windows that are everywhere in this room, I did have to put NDs on the lenses. These are variable NDs. Because I do want that shallow depth of field. You know, I'm shooting at 2.8 on the 85 here, and I'm shooting almost wide open on the, let's say it's a 35, but the 18-35. I do have some speed boosters on each of these just to give a little bit wider field of view compared to what the GH4 can natively record in 4K. We've got lights here, and we're actually running 2 lights as the key lights here just to get as much light on our subject as possible, because obviously outside is much brighter than inside. And we've got a nice fill here so it's not too harsh and too contrasty. These are just nice looking interviews. Of course, we've got an edge light here, you know, just to add a little bit of extra pop. This is a pretty weak light, relatively speaking, compared to everything else. So it wasn't adding too much, but that's okay, because sometimes I don't like a really harsh edge light or hair light. You know, sometimes that can be a bit too dramatic. I don't know if you can see it now on my hair, but you know, sometimes it's just too obvious that you've lit something. So I tend to kind of keep that tone down whenever possible. And that's pretty much it. I don't know if there's anything else I can show you. We were, like I said, we did 4 interviews in here, so we were kind of moving things around all day long. You know, this was our kind of our last angle of the day, but earlier in the morning, because, okay, so if you can pick, so the sun was over here this morning, so we were filming that way, you know, using the sun to kind of help fill in this space, because we've got these nice silk, you know, kind of sheer drapes that we pulled. And that's really helpful if you're filming in a hotel room like we are. Filming in a hotel room because there's a conference going on, so all the people we were interviewing were right in this area, so it just made sense to get a central location. We were actually looking at some studio space, but if you're looking at studio space, you get an issue of, okay, you have to kind of build a set, and this just wasn't the right shoot for anything like that. So the hotel room seemed the best, but I do recommend if you're filming in a hotel room like this one, this is like a suite, make it look not like a hotel room. It's usually not, you know, like, okay, so some hotel rooms, right, you don't have this front, I don't know what you would call this, lounge area, you know. Most hotel rooms look like this. Probably not a good idea if you're doing interviews to have a bed in the background. So stay away from that. Get a room, get a suite that's got some space that you can play with. But anyway, if you're shooting with the sun like this and you're using the sun to help reinforce the space you're in, the lighting that's in this space, because you pretty much need to. You can't film out a window without getting some serious power from the sun, or with some really powerful lights that, you know, frankly, we don't have a generator in here. You know, we couldn't run a generator in here. The noise would be too loud, and we don't want to blow any fuses. So when you do that, you can use these shears to help soften that sunlight that's coming in. But even then, it's still, like, as you can see, there's different spots in the shear where it's harsher and darker light coming through. So you always want to make sure you have another diffusion panel between the light and your subject. So what we did earlier, and you can kind of see it here, the sun's over here coming through, but then before it hits the subject, you know, we have these lights to help reinforce, but it also goes through this panel of diffusion. Now, as the sun was setting, we needed the other panel here that we kind of propped up to help keep the sun off, and we kind of propped that up like that. But since we're done, we don't need it now. And yeah, that's about it. One other, you know, this is probably going pretty long. We're at like 7.5 minutes, whatever. That was just to kind of flag off some light. Nothing much to say there. And this room, so another, it's always fun stuff every time, right? Fun stuff. So here's the AC, right, for the room, and there's an AC unit in the other room, and it's pretty loud. I don't know if you can hear. I don't know what the GoPro's doing, but yeah, you can kind of hear that. So this room was getting really, really hot. You know, with the windows open and everything, it was getting really hot. We had to keep the AC on because, frankly, we were all just sweating, and it was getting to the point of being like really uncomfortable. Now, most of the time you can kind of deal with it being a little bit warm, you know, if it's maybe like 80 degrees or something, but it was getting really hot, so we had to run the AC. Thankfully, we were able to turn it just kind of like a medium fan, and we're gonna have to filter that out in post-production, but that is another thing to keep in mind. You always have to find that balance between, in an ideal situation, you turn the AC off, you keep noise to an absolute minimum, so you don't have to deal with it later. But sometimes, you know, clients getting hot, talent's getting hot, everyone's getting hot, people are sweating, it's uncomfortable, and so you just have to make that call of, okay, do we turn the AC on and just deal with it in post-production, or do we keep it off? And for this one, we decided to turn it on because it just made the most sense for the space. So that is that. I'll wrap this up. I don't know if there's any other questions you guys have or anything you want to know. You can feel free to ask me in the comments. I'd gladly share any insight I may have. But yeah, check out this view. It's fantastic, right? San Francisco, looking good.